Retiring for a quiet night in to watch TV. It's safe and, well, predictable. Flipping through channels, you might find reruns, a brand new episode of that series everyone can't stop talking about, the nightly news, until you come across something strange. It might be a masked man broadcasting a message, it might be reports of another world, or it might be an error you just can't explain. Is this a joke? A new series? Are you finally in your horror movie arc? Or maybe you've experienced a pirate station or hijacking. Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of Night Files. As always, I'm your host, Juhi. Today's episode is a little different, showcasing smaller sets of mysteries that continue to elude people. In this case, we're looking at the phenomena of pirate TV and hijackings. With the medium of television being as young as it is, there haven't been that many pirate stations out there, with some of the first occurring in the US in the 1970s. While relatively harmless, the messaging and purpose behind each hijacking is unexpected, and coming across one without warning would clearly surprise even the most cynical of us. Today, we're looking at a few of these incidents which have yet to be solved and which still capture our imagination and wondering just who was behind them. On November 26, 1977, during the 5 o'clock news with reporter Andrew Gardner, thousands of viewers in parts of England were subject to a 6-minute message from a voice referring to itself as Vrillon of the Ashtar Galactic Command. What was meant to be a normal and unassuming Saturday evening was now interrupted by the distorted voice of Vrillon warning his unassuming audience of the dangers humans were getting themselves into by using weapons of mass destruction. According to them, if we didn't give up our way soon, it would be too late. In the 6-minute diatribe, they stated, "You're free to accept or reject their teachings, but only those who learn to live in peace will pass to the higher realms of spiritual evolution." When the normal audio was resumed, the station apologized for what it called a breakthrough in sound, yet hundreds of concerned telephone calls from concerned members of the public came in. Reports of the incident vary and contradict themselves, with some calling the speaker Vrillon or Gillon, and others even saying the name Asteron. Despite being a prank, it was a highly sophisticated one for the time. The Independent Broadcasting Authority of the UK stated that to carry out such a hoax was possible but should take a considerable amount of technical know-how. To this day, the person or group behind the broadcast has never been identified, leading to questions about the intent behind the broadcast. Some conspiracists more invested in ufology choose to accept the broadcast at face value. How are we to know that it wasn't real? In one way, it is notable that the broadcast was calling for peace rather than threats, but it's more likely to be a hacker with a serious message to present to an audience. One of the earliest pirate television stations believed to be broadcast in the United States was that dubbed Lucky 7, which was on for 3 nights in the spring of 1978 in Syracuse, New York. Airing for a grand total of 25 hours, the station had pirated films and programs such as Star Trek, Twilight Zone, and Rocky, among others. A New York Times report from the time stated, "From time to time, a Lucky 7 announcer appeared on the screen with his face hidden by a gas mask. He'd state that, 'Lucky 7 reaches about half of the Syracuse area, and if you're watching, you're part of that half.' As he finished, what sounded like an all-woman chorus broke in with a voice-over Lucky 7 theme song, as the underground station's logo, Dice Roll to 7, appeared. There are no known recordings of this, effectively making it lost to time. The person or people behind Lucky 7 have never stepped forward, though many from the time speculate that Lucky 7 was the plot of local Syracuse University communication students, who were able to use equipment normally available for closed-circuit broadcasts on Channel 7 on the university's cable system. Could be an idea for your group of friends. Who knows? The The list would be amiss without mentioning one of the most infamous TV hijackings of all time, the Max Headroom incident. For some additional context, the character of Max Headroom itself comes from the 1985 British cyberpunk TV film Max Headroom, 20 Minutes into the Future, which provides backstory for an AI VJ who would go on to host his own music program airing in the UK. The series proved popular because this was the 80s, and a spin-off starring the lovable artificial-looking Max soon emerged in the US about a futuristic dystopia ruled by an oligarchy of television networks. This was, in fact, one of the first cyberpunk TV series. Cyberpunk icon, 80s influencer, and New Coke spokesman Max Headroom was apparently so inspiring that on November 22, 1987, 2 stations in Chicago, Illinois were hijacked by a person wearing a Max Headroom mask and costume, accompanied by distorted audio. Imagine tuning into the news before bed and encountering, well, this. Dan Roan, the news announcer for that night, merely had this to say.
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I.
A second intrusion even happened about 2 hours later at 11 p.m. during an episode of Doctor Who. Studio technicians couldn't counteract the signal takeover because there weren't any engineers on duty during that hour. For what it's worth, experts say this intrusion would require extensive technical expertise and a significant amount of power. This raises questions about who was behind this and why. Some have speculated that it was a disgruntled employee of the WGN station, or maybe a hacker with a lot of time on their hands. A popular suspect is that of Erik Fournier, the creator of Shay St. John, a fictional model who was disfigured in a car accident and recreated her body from mannequin parts. People point to artistic similarities between his videos and the hacker's surreal footage, noting the use of masks and unconvincing prosthetics. Around a decade ago, Reddit user BPAOG created a post saying, "I believe I know who was behind the Max Headroom incident that occurred on Chicago TV in 1987. They identified a pair of brothers named J and K, who they noted were very into the hacking scene in Chicago during the time. They did later go on to retract this statement, though. Certainly, whoever was behind it is considered somewhat of a cult legend, and the bizarre mystery of it is what Max Headroom is mostly remembered for. Still, the true person or people behind the hijacking is unlikely to ever identify themselves, given that the FCC stated the punishment for this hack would be a $100,000 fine, a year in jail, or both. Tough crowd. That's all the time we have for now, and I hope you've enjoyed this entire season of Night Files. If you have any thoughts on what we discussed, comment down in the box below and give us a like. I really feel the most important lesson we can learn from this is that if you're going to hack into a TV station, at least make it super weird and interesting, cover your tracks pretty well, and I'm not held liable for anything I say here. Either way, this is Night Files, signing off.